My parents shared a group message. We believe it is best for you to take a break for the time being. My aunt responded with a thumbs up. I responded saying I understood. I'll respect that and stay away from the family fun. That night, I concluded my contribution. At 3:11 a.m., my phone started vibrating. 89 missed calls by sunrise. My father left a voicemail. What happened? The bank marked everything. I just replied and I respect your decision. That was before they discovered what else I had. We believe it is best for you to take a break for the time being. That was the message. A group chat of all things. My parents, aunt, and even my uncle were present, though he rarely spoke up. But this time he didn't have to. The silence was plenty. The message reached me around 7:42 p.m. on a Thursday. I was reheating some leftover curry planning to finish that spreadsheet before bed when I noticed it. We've talked about it, and we believe it's best if you move away from the family for now. Hannah requires room. We all do. My aunt gave a thumbs up beneath it. Just like that. No call. There's no explanation. Just a thumb. I stared at the screen for a minute before starting to type. Understood. I'll respect that and stay away from the family fun. I did not wait for a response. That night, I logged into the joint account I'd been quietly managing for 5 years. The one who paid for Mom's insulin assisted Dad in refinancing his second mortgage and kept Hannah's car running when her checks were delayed. I removed my automatic contributions and then terminated the account. My phone started vibrating at exactly 3:11 a.m. It buzzed continuously. By morning, there were 89 missed calls. My dad left the last voicemail. His voice was unsteady, angry, and afraid. What happened? The bank marked everything. Are you okay? Why should you? I replied to his reply with a single sentence. I'm respecting your decision. That was before they discovered how much I'd quietly accomplished. To truly appreciate why the communication seemed like a bet martinal, you'd have to go back 5 years. Back to Hannah's second hospitalization, her father contacted me crying in a Walgreens parking lot. She is not going to make it, sweetheart. He stated that they will not admit her without insurance. We've reached our limit. That night, I depleted my savings and paid for rehab out of pocket. Hannah appeared steady for a time. Everyone referred to it as a miracle, but they never mentioned not once that I had made it possible. Nobody offered to repay me. Nobody even asked how I was doing, but it didn't end there. When Mom was diagnosed with diabetes, I began covering her medications. Dad's hours were being reduced at the warehouse. Hannah was in and out of stability, and whenever she crashed, they came to me silently and frantically. At start, it was minor stuff. $300 only for this month. Then they asked if I could assist put up something permanent, such as a family emergency pool. I was 27 and single working 80-hour weeks in finance. It made logic, I reminded myself. I was able to afford it, so I did. I established the family fund in my name. When payments fell behind, I channeled them, including Mom's prescriptions, Hannah's therapy co-pays, and even the phone bill. They granted me access to everything. Passwords, account numbers, and balances. Not because they trusted me, but because they did not want to deal with the situation. They referred to me as the responsible one. They meant the option that was most handy. My life became a record of silent sacrifices. Meanwhile, Hannah spiraled repeatedly. She received a DUI in 2020, and I paid for her counsel. She moved in with a guy named Jason, who was certainly not abusive, and when she left him in the middle of the night, I was the one who Venmo'd her enough money for a hotel and groceries. I never received a cent back. They never inquired where the money came from. They never saw the line-by-line spreadsheet I created to keep myself afloat. They never noticed that I downsized my apartment, skipped vacations, and ate oatmeal for dinner more nights than I'd want to confess because I was required to. I was the financial barrier between them and collapse for a while, and I was fine with it. Until the Christmas incident. It happened 2 years ago. Hannah had a fit when I refused to buy her new tires after I had just paid her rent. She told my folks that I was making her feel judged. That night, Dad sent me a message. Just be a little more understanding. Leah is in recovery. You don't realize how difficult that is. I snapped. Not openly or explosively, but something within me snapped like ice under pressure. I didn't respond. Instead, I tried something else. I began capturing everything. Every dollar sent, every invoice paid, and every excuse they provided. I made backups, emailed myself statements, and gathered screenshots. Not to keep it from them just yet, but to remind myself that it was true, that I hadn't imagined the drain, the pattern, or the continual pulling without giving. Then last month things came to a head. Hannah texted the family group, "Hey, I understand money is limited, but might the fund support a yoga retreat in Arizona? It is for my mental well-being." A yoga retreat, $3 $200. I didn't respond. I waited. I was curious what they might say. And my father, the same man who helped me out of an overdraft twice last year, said, "That sounds like something you really need. Let's see what we can accomplish." Mom responded with a heart emoji. That's when I understood they weren't simply exploiting me. They expected me to be manipulated. They felt the fund belonged to them and that I was a silent donor. Years had passed and entitlement had replaced gratitude. But the kicker was the grenade in the room, which arrived just 2 nights before the message. We were on a family call, a monthly check-in that normally turned into Hannah's therapy session with me serving as the invisible ATM in the background. I tried to discuss my promotion. I had been promoted to director at the firm, a huge raise, massive responsibility. Dad interrupted me mid-sentence. "Sorry, can we go back to Hannah's house? She doesn't feel comfortable in her present unit. They wanted to relocate her to a nicer region with my assistance, obviously." I did not agree. I did not fight. I merely stated gently, "Maybe it's time someone else stepped up." Silence, cold, stony. Offended. Then came the message 2 days later. "We think it's best if you take a break for now." Aunt Patricia's thumbs up felt like a knife. They believed they were shutting me off. They had no idea they were cutting the cord to the sole thing holding their financial life together. I had been the silent stream beneath their lives. When I halted, their lights went out. The repercussions started in exactly 36 hours. First came the overdraft notices. Then Mom's pharmacist called, and Hannah, the one who needed space, left a message that began in a whisper and finished in a scream. "Why would you do that? You knew I needed the money." By Sunday morning, the texts were unrelenting. Dad unleashed a volley of voice messages like a guy disintegrating in real time. They excluded me from the family talk as if I didn't belong. The mortgage was not paid. "I thought you handled the insurance. The car is currently uninsured." "What did you do with the utility account?" "The bank locked our checking account, citing several red flags." "This has to be fixed. Fix it," as if I'd shattered something. As if I hadn't already stepped aside as requested. The actual issue was not that I stopped helping. They didn't comprehend how much I was holding everything together. Then came the family Zoom call. My cousin Sophie set it up, pretended it was just a conversation. But the second I walked in, I noticed their faces lined up in perfect little rectangles like a jury. Mom's lips were pushed so tightly they appeared bloodless. Dad was pacing. Hannah had tears running down her face. It appeared rehearsed. Aunt Patricia sat smugly in her scarf and pearls as if we were in family court. "Why would you do this to us?" Hannah started, her voice quivering. "You've simply abandoned us." After everything I've done, I responded, "You mean, after I paid your rent, funded your rehab, and was mocked for declining your yoga retreat?" "That's not fair," she said. "Fair," I snapped. "Do you desire fairness? How about this? For 5 years, I've been following your financial trail like a forensic janitor. I've cleaned up your mess, paid your overdrafts, and helped you out as you posted inspirational quotations about healing and alignment. And the instant I hesitate, you remove me from the family talk, like if I were disposable." Mom finally spoke. "It was not exile. We were also giving you room." "No, you weren't," I interrupted. "You were siding with Hannah again, as you always do. You just found a courteous way to tell me to go." "So I did." Dad folded his arms. "You did not need to cancel the fund." "I didn't cancel it," I explained. "I closed it in my name, funded with my money, and ran it myself. The family fund was never a trust. It was a leash." His face grew crimson. "We trusted you." "No," I replied, "you used me." Then I opened the folder beside me and selected Share Screen. The spreadsheet appeared. Rows and rows of payment dates and amounts with each dollar monitored. Rent, medical utilities, repairs Hannah's almost paid retreat. The overdrafts I rectified Aunt Patricia's emergency dentistry, and even the Uber receipts from when I paid for Mom to travel to the hospital at 2 a.m. following a panic attack. "Wow," Sophie muttered, "who maintains all of this?" Patricia sneered. "Someone who knew one day you'd gaslight her into believing she made everything up." I didn't say anything, just stared at the television. Then I selected the final tab. It displayed a running total. It's 87 and 20. There is no more sound. Dad jumped back from the camera as if he had been slapped. Mom was shocked to learn that you had been keeping tabs on us. No, I replied. I have been surviving you. Hannah lurched at the screen like a toddler throwing a tantrum. You are just bitter. You've always been bitter because no one offers you a gold star for being the best daughter. You want to be applauded for acting like an adult. No, I said quietly. I simply want boundaries, and I am done being your financial safety net. Patricia whispered, That's rich. You believe that money is the only thing that matters. No, I replied, but that was the only reason you ever came to me. Then I closed the spreadsheet, looked at the camera, and administered the fatal blow. I have already contacted the bank. All joint authorizations were withdrawn. My name is no longer associated with any of your accounts. What about the credit cards closed? Does the shared utility make automatic payments canceled? What about the insurance premiums you will need to re-enroll? You asked me to step aside. Here's what that looks like. Mom gave a gasp. Dad's face became pallid. Hannah looked like she had been shot. Sophie leaned back in awe. But I wasn't finished. I also spoke with a lawyer. I explained. You will receive documents within the next several days. I'm severing all legal ties between myself and the family trust that was never formalized, simply in case someone tries to access my credit or open anything in my name again. Hannah exclaimed, You're overreacting. You are cutting us off. I'm protecting myself, I explained. From now on, I'm not your backup fallback or free ride. Dad appeared broken but said nothing. Mom was quietly sobbing now. Hannah got up and stormed off screen, banging something in the background. Patricia reached forward and stopped the call without saying anything, and I sat back, heart-racing, hands tingling. But for the first time in a decade, I wasn't terrified of the consequences, since I had nothing left to lose but the weight I'd been carrying for far too long. The hush following the call was almost spooky. For the first time in years, my phone did not ring with a, "Hey, quick favor," or, "Can you just cover this one thing?" Hannah left no guilt-laced voicemails, tearful emoticons, or passive-aggressive remarks about family members who turned their backs. Nothing. It was as if I had disappeared. At first, I wondered whether they'd finally got it. Perhaps they were learning how to stand on their own, but I should have known better. Exactly 10 days later, I received an email from an unknown sender, a burner evidently with just one sentence. You have damaged everything. Attached were bill screenshots, Hannah's eviction notice, a final warning from the power provider, and a failed credit card application with my name mentioned as the previous co-signer. They were disintegrating swiftly and chaotically. People who are used to leaning on you do not fall gracefully. They crash and blame you for the landing. That same week, Mom arrived at my office. I was attending a meeting. My assistant entered wide-eyed. There's a woman here who claims to be your mother and refuses to go. I walked into the foyer, and there she was, pale and shivering, carrying an envelope full of paperwork. I didn't know where else to go, she explained, her voice scratchy. Your dad is sleeping on the couch. Hannah hasn't left her room for 3 days. The landlord claims he'll change the locks next week. I didn't say anything, so she played her final card. I raised you, she murmured, suddenly furious. I gave you life. How are you repaying us? That's when I laughed, not loudly or cruelly, but hollowly, as if air was fleeing a damaged pipe. You gave me life, I responded, and then you spent 30 years convincing me that I owed you for it. She flinched. I stepped forward. I did not approach you at 22 and say, please let me be responsible for your dysfunction. Allow me to carry your debt. Allow me to save my sister over and over while you nod and enable her. Let me give up my mental health relationships in life so you don't have to look in the mirror. She said nothing, so I continued. You want assistance? Call a social worker. Call a credit counselor. Call the same system that you claimed people like us were too proud to rely on. I'm no longer here to save you. I then walked back to my office. I didn't even look to see whether she had followed me, but that wasn't the end. A week later, I received a letter, not an email, from the bank. The envelope was thick, the kind that indicates problems. Inside is a highlighted inquiry summary. Someone apparently tried to open a business loan using my name SSN and the family fund's tax ID number. The only reason it did not go through. I had closed the account a few days before, which triggered a fraud warning. What about the loan 80,000? What is the business name Hannah Grace Recovery Services LLC? I stopped. That wasn't a legitimate company. There was no LLC tax record or license, yet the papers was presented, along with a counterfeit signature that resembled mine. I phoned the bank. The fraud department representative opened up the entire packet, and when she read the co-signers, Dad and Mom, I sat there shocked as she remarked, "Ma'am, it appears that someone close to you attempted to pose as your approved financial partner. If you hadn't closed the fund, this could have gone undiscovered. They hadn't just utilized me. They attempted to shift responsibility onto me, silently tying my name to a loan I was not a part of, and that's when everything sharpened. Hannah immediately desired space. My parents encouraged it. Silence removal and polite exile. It was not a spontaneous event. It was a setup. Take me off the fund quietly. Keep my name attached. Take the money. Disappear. Allow the bank to come after me if things collapsed. They didn't just want my assistance. They wanted to keep me accountable. Without asking. When that didn't work, they made me the villain in a tale about their own failed theft. I spent my weekend completing reports, bank police and IRS. I submitted the fake paperwork. I prepared an affidavit. I even handed over past texts from Hannah inquiring about establishing a nonprofit in my name. It took several hours, but each keystroke felt like treatment. That night, Hannah called from a different phone number crying. I just wanted to say I understand now. I let her talk. She didn't mention the loan or the fraud. She just talked about how sorry she was, how difficult things had been, and how we were still family. I asked one question. Did you know about the business app? There is no more sound. Then the line went dead. I blocked that number. That's when the real shift occurred. Not in them. In me. I began sleeping better. I stopped checking my bank app every night, fearful that someone was stealthily siphoning my funds again. I went to supper with friends and didn't flinch when the bill arrived. Then came the call from Uncle Martin the outsider. They labeled him as unstable when he severed ties years ago. He discovered me on LinkedIn. I saw what you did, he said. I heard about the fund. I've also heard about the loan. I didn't inquire how. Martin always knew more than he let on. You aren't the only person they've drained, he added. Only the first person turned off the faucet. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't only about me. This was generational. A long line of people who were nurtured into service silence and becoming the savior while everyone else drowned in denial. They assumed I was the villain because I had ceased playing the hero. Let me tell you about heroes. The majority of them die broke and exhausted while everyone else applauds at their funeral. Not me. I switched cities 2 months later. New job, better team, more compensation, and no forwarding address. And one day, in the solitude of my new apartment, with the floors still bare and the furniture still arriving, Jason sent me a message on Facebook. Yes, Jason. Hannah's ex is abusive. It read, didn't expect this, but thank you for helping her, even when she didn't deserve it. She needed to be saved from more than just me. It completely stopped me. Not because I wanted affirmation, but because that was the first time anyone in that circle admitted the reality. I had been protecting them from themselves until I quit. And when I stopped, the silence that followed was not due to remorse. It was freedom. It's been over a year, 12 months, since I closed the fund, the group chat banishment, and the 3:11 a.m. A phone call resulted in 89 missed calls, 1 message, and an unexpected financial collapse. Since they submitted a business loan application under my name without my knowledge and attempted to frame me for $80,000 in fictitious recovery services, I kept thinking about how empty I would feel after going away. That remorse used to creep in late at night, whispering, "They're your family, maybe you overreacted, maybe you could have saved them." But the only thing I feel now is tranquility. Not the performative type or the kind you pretend to have while holding back tears at Sunday dinner while someone makes fun of you for being the responsible one. Real peace is one in which your phone does not vibrate with fear, your money is yours, your boundaries are respected, and you do not apologize for being free. They tried, of course. Mom emailed on Christmas Eve saying the tree seemed emptier this year and attaching a photo of her and Dad in the living room smiling without their teeth, a show for the camera. Hannah submitted a 5-paragraph essay about reclaiming her power on her birthday in March, concluding with a casual mention of needing assistance with her first and last month's rent. I did not respond to either. I still check my credit score every month. That's okay. There were no surprise accounts or costs. The warnings I set up following the forgery never went off because I now own my life and guard it in the same way that I formerly protected theirs. But now comes the unexpected part. Other people started coming forward. Cousins I hadn't seen in years, coworkers I'd hardly spoken to, and even a stranger on Reddit who spotted a remark I put in a finance discussion and messaged you about your experience. I believe that happened to me too. It turns out there are many of us. The strong, dependable ones who pay the rent mend, the turmoil conceal the panic and bear the weight while being told we're too cold. When we finally ask for something back, the family vaults without locks and we eventually learn to slam the door. Let's be clear. Walking away from my family was the most difficult thing I've ever done. It's harder than watching Hannah relapse. It was more difficult than removing my father's emergency contact information. It was harder than keeping silent while they branded me selfish, bitter, and cruel. But it was also the most important thing I'd ever done. And the final straw, the one that convinced me I had done the right thing, arrived just a few weeks ago. I was walking home after a late client meeting. I walked the same street thousands of times, and Aunt Patricia was seated outside the corner bakery, scarf pearls and the same smug demeanor. She noticed me and waved as if we were old friends. I almost continued walking, but I stopped. She eyed me up and down. "You look good," she said. "I am." There was a beat. Then without cynicism, she inquired, "Would you ever consider setting something up again for emergencies?" I laughed long and low from somewhere deep within my core. Then I said calmly, "I did. It's called my future." I walked away. I'm not sure if they'll ever really grasp what they lost or why I had to leave. Perhaps they will change the story. Say I was greedy, unstable, ungrateful. Perhaps Hannah will adapt her blog post about toxic siblings into a podcast. I do not care. The reality is simple. I am not the villain in their story. I am the one who has finally fled it. And in doing so, I gave myself something others could never have. Freedom without conditions.